What's up, y'all? My name is Devontae, and I sacrificed my time so you don't have to. So I'm going to read this article for you guys because this is relatively old within the scope of the internet or wrestling news in general. It happened about a week and a half ago during the whole interview between Tori Wilson and Chris Van Vliet. I'll leave a link down in the description box below for that video also if you guys want to check it out for more context. And I'll leave a link down also so you guys can read the article along with me, and then we'll talk about this afterwards. Tori Wilson says it was mortifying to do bikini contests on WWE TV, recalls watching one of the girls dance and literally fighting back tears. Chris Van Vliet spoke with WWE Hall of Famer Tori Wilson on the latest Insight Podcast YouTube show. We have some highlights below. The full interview can be watched at the bottom of, again, like I said, you guys can, it's in my description box. I'm reading what they're saying in the article verbatim, but you can, the link is down in the description box if you guys want to see it. Tori Wilson on being in bikini contests in WWE. They were all mortifying. People don't realize. I went out there and owned it the best I could and pushed through the fear, but it was mortifying. There were times when I remember specifically a house show that I was in, this bikini show showdown with Dawn Marie and Sable and someone else. I was standing in the corner watching one of the girls dance in the middle and literally fighting back tears. Like, I cannot believe I'm doing this right now because it got to like a raunchy point, and I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this, but that was also my job. And she felt like she could say no. No, and I quote, it was like twice that I could remember that I said no. First of all, I'm a major people pleaser, so to say no to people is really hard, even if it's someone you know. I'm recovering from that. There was one time when I had a thing with Sable where Vince wanted me to come out with the paint on my boobs like she did, and I was like, hard no, I can't do that. I mean, it ended up being nearly nothing anyway. Another time was when I did Playboy. Vince wanted me to do a pay-per-view also, the video. That one was very hardcore press, and it was really hard for me to say no, but I absolutely didn't want to. If it was difficult for her to agree to Playboy. That part, no, because I thought it's photos. I know it's going to look good, and it's Playboy. To be honest, this is going to sound real dumb, but I hadn't really even thought about the fact that I was kind of going to be nude because Playboy was such a popular magazine. I was like, this is going to be awesome, right? Playboy parties and all that. Literally, it wasn't until I was landing on the plane to go to the shoot that I was like, oh shit, there's going to actually be other people in the room, not just me and the photographer. It was kind of a close set, so there wasn't more than maybe 6 people, and I always had a robe, but in between shots, I was always like, this is so weird. On what she is proud of in her wrestling career. I'm really proud of the fact that I stayed true to my values. Even though on screen it got a little raunchy, I was never that girl that politicked my way. I never slept my way to the top trying to get a little extra attention. And to me, that goes a long way. I was never a backstabber. I was, on the up and up. And to me, that's something I'm the most proud of. Honestly, follow wrestling. Oh, you guys can read the rest of the article because that's pretty much what I wanted to allude to for the most part. You can read the rest of it if you want to. Talking about the diva aspect of all of this, because if you go back in the Attitude Era or in the early days of the Ruthless Aggression Era, not even so much in the later Ruthless Aggression Era, like once you get around 2008-ish, the bra and panty stuff really started to die down. Really, you can argue probably like right after the Chris Benoit stuff is when the bra and panty stuff, you might get it here and there, but it was nowhere as prevalent as it was, say, like prior to 2006, for an example. That's when it was at its raunchiest. And to be perfectly honest with you, I just don't understand. And I talk about this all the time. So speaking about Tori Wilson, I can't speak to how she felt, obviously. I will say, at the very least, looking at all the stuff that has gone throughout her career, I've always been a big Tori Wilson fan as far as her sex appeal, because that's literally all she brought to the table. Like, the women of that nature back in the days, they were never known for their wrestling skills, nor was anyone looking for them in regards to their wrestling skills. You know what I mean? Like, Tori Wilson, Stacy Keibler, Dawn Marie, all those girls, they came to WWE for one thing and one thing only, to be eye candy. You literally signed the contract. There's no way you can tell me, Tori Wilson, that you signed a WWE contract to be anything other than eye candy. And here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with that. We live in a very progressive age where people, they don't even understand what they're doing. They're working backwards, pretending as if they're working forward. I hear all these people all the time talk about women's rights and a woman's right to do this and the sexual revolution and all this other stuff. But like, you're the first ones to condemn women for trying to exploit their bodies. I don't understand that in the end of the day. Isn't that like a huge contradiction? Does anyone look at that as a huge contradiction? Like, am I one of the only ones to want to point something out like this? They do this all the time also. Like, they'll be the first ones to talk about that women suffer through violence and shit like that. But they're absolutely okay with watching a woman, you know, dramatized, obviously, because wrestling is fake in the end of the day. But you're perfectly fine with the image of a man beating up a woman when talking about all these stupid ass, you know, intergender matches. Like, I don't understand. These people contradict their values. I mean, Tori talks about her values, but these people who have a problem with this, they always contradict their values, and I just don't understand why the wrestlers themselves, and again, I can't speak to Tori Wilson and how she actually feels because I'm not in Tori's body. I would just like to note the fact that she came to WWE from WCW, which when she was in WCW, she was also an eye candy, and she came to WWE as an eye candy, and then she performed in nothing. Every storyline that Tori Wilson performed in, anything that had to do with Tori Wilson was always surrounded around her body. Like, that was the entire crux of her character, if you even want to call it a character, because Tori Wilson never necessarily had a character. I can, off the top of my head, I can remember, like, maybe, I remember the story with her and Dawn Marie, with, you know, Al Wilson and everything. I remember that. I remember the story with Sable in 2003. I remember that. I remember Vince's Devils, if I remember correctly, right? I think Tori was a part of the Ric Flair and Carlito thing right before, you know, she got released the following year, or maybe she quit. I know she had like an injury before she left, if I'm not mistaken, like in 2008, I want to say. Like, there was nothing. And like, what, she's been with WWE, I want to say the better part, maybe 6 or 7 years, maybe 8 years. Not one time, at any period, did they allude to her being anything more than what her body was out there to show, right? I don't understand this. It's like as soon as you step in the ring, all this shit in regards to like how can I put this? And I talked about this before in the past. I don't understand this whole thing of you can go on Instagram and you can get half naked for every man out there for them to pay you money, or your OnlyFans, or do all this simping behavior that I discussed in my live video that I did a couple days ago. I don't understand how you can look at that, and it's perfectly fine to get naked on Instagram, or get naked or half naked, or whatever the case may be for any of this, and that's including Playboy. But like, as soon as you step in the ring in front of people, then, oh my God, it's the worst thing in the fucking world. It's a complete contradiction. I don't understand. None of these people have legitimate values that they are consistent on. It'd be one thing, like if you came to me, like I'll put it to you this way, if Molly Holly was the one doing this interview, I completely understand. I get it. I understand, because I know where Molly Holly's values lie. Molly Holly is a legitimate, I'm not talking about politics, just like the actual definition. Molly Holly is a legitimate conservative. She's a conservative. You know, she's very image oriented as far as what she wants to pertain to her image, as far as what she wants to get across, as far as the wrestling is considered. She legitimately came to be a wrestler. Jazz came to be a wrestler. You know, like, you had women, I can't even look at someone like a Jacqueline or a Victoria, women who were actually good in the ring. Trish Stratus eventually, Lita. I can look at these women and maybe I can say to myself, okay, I can believe, maybe I can look at what you're doing, and maybe I can say to myself that you wanted to focus more on the in-ring aspect versus being a sex appeal. I can look at that because you can clearly tell how over they were getting with the wrestling in itself, or at the very least, where their mindset was at when they actually, tried to get across their angle or their character. You could tell what they were trying to do. With Tori Wilson and Sable and Stacy Keibler and the Cad and all those women, and I don't buy it. I don't buy what you're saying. And it's worse. It goes beyond that, because it's like, I feel like you're only saying that in order to appease an audience of fans who are virtue signaling. That's that word again. That's like my favorite phrase this week so far, is the word virtue signaling, because there's a lot of people doing that lately. I don't buy your attitude as far as how you felt about your career throughout WWE. Because look at what she's saying. She can't even legitimately reflect on what she did for the business. Tori Wilson was probably one of the most over women. I would say that Tori Wilson was more over than Trish Stratus and Lita in probably that 2002, 2003 time frame. Tori was more over than Lita and Trish. No one will actually say that. Go back and look at the 2002 ratings for SmackDown back in, say, around September or October, and you tell me who was doing some of the highest viewership numbers around that time. It was Tori Wilson. She was one of the most, if not the most over woman. I will say in the year 2003, there was no more over woman than Tori Wilson in all of WWE. So why the hell can you reflect off of that and say that you actually accomplished something? There are women, young women, who probably came into WWE watching what you did for the most part. And hell, maybe sooner or later they ventured off to go see what the hell was going on with a Trish Stratus or a Lita or a Mickie James. But let's not pretend that it wasn't you who at the very least was a road, was a path for wrestling fans to get into wrestling. Now, no one will probably claim that you are one of their favorites, but no one can't say that they didn't turn the channel, see you, and that was the reason why they stopped. And then sooner or later, they've seen other things that they connect with, and then they became full-fledged wrestling fans. After all, that's, in my opinion, that's her biggest pathway as far as what I believe what she contributed to the wrestling business. Her, Sable, all the divas. I will never, for the life of me, understand why it's so cool to shit on the divas, bruh. Like, I will never for the life of me understand why you feel like you're such a freedom fighter. Oh, those dastardly divas where all they had to do was get naked and strip on television. Oh, they're nothing like the women who can barely get any TV time as is when they were wrestling back in the days. I mean, you had people like Jazz and Jacqueline who were fucking mainstays on Sunday Night Heat. People like Ivory who got so little TV time that she was pretty much for the most part just doing interviews because she was just trying to get some type of TV. She was trying to do something. So lack of TV time was Ivory after Right to Censor that she was pretty much relegated to doing shit like interviews for like fucking B shows on Velocity or fucking random television shows Saturday in the fucking morning time at like fucking 9 o'clock. Like, come on, get real. It was women like Sable who brought men over towards the Attitude Era, along with an Austin, along with a Rock, who eventually they've been watching wrestling now for almost 25 years thanks to people like Sable. Do you know how many wrestling fans I hear talk about Kelly Kelly and Glowing Light? I'm not a Kelly Kelly fan at all. But you know how many people I see in the comment sections, not mine, but like in WWE comment sections, talk about a Kelly Kelly or an Eve Torres, for an example? Like Candice Michelle, a Maria Kanellis, who's still doing stuff today because of what she had to do to get herself over back in the days that still makes her relevant to this very day. Like, I just don't understand. These women, these divas, if it wasn't for them, you can sit back all you want to and you could talk about the Four Horsewomen. You could talk about, all the things that Asuka is doing. You could talk about the Joshi wrestling. You could talk about all the stuff with the women main eventing of WrestleMania. Okay, in order for Becky Lynch to walk down the ramp at WrestleMania, it took someone like a Sable and a Sunny to make women's wrestling even relevant. And yeah, I'm saying women's wrestling because no one gives a shit about wrestling if you're not watching the wrestling. And why are they watching the wrestling? Because of women like this. These women brought in millions upon millions of wrestling fans throughout their years in the company, especially someone like a Sable. And now you have these people who about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, oh man, this is all the rage. That girl's so hot. Oh yeah, this, that, and the third, when they were probably like 16 or 17. And now they're like in their late 30s, early 40s. And it's like, come on, man. Can we just look at the women? Like, no. In the end of the day, I know right now the testosterone in professional wrestling is decreasing rapidly, but let's not forget the fact that in the end of the day, this is male soap opera genre. This is all it is in the end of the day. You don't see me going to a Maybelline aisle looking for men on the front of unless it's a transgender, right? But looking at a legitimate fucking man on the front of a goddamn perfume bottle saying, oh wow, right there, that's some great sponsorship for you right there. No. Why can't we just have this, bruh? It's okay. It's fine. Tori, you did a good job as a diva. That is going to be your legacy, and there's nothing wrong with that, and you do not have to run away from it. You can look at that and say, like, yes, you were very empowering because you had men in the palm of literally in some cases, in the palm of your hand. Not literally like she had, your balls in her hand, but I mean like you had, you were jacking off to. You get what I'm trying to say? My point being is, it's fine to look at the divas and remark on what the hell they did for professional wrestling. Just because you are nowadays a progressive, fighting the good fight and contradicting every goddamn valuable standpoint that you feel you can stand on because you're one hell of a progressive, you're moving forward. Doesn't mean you have to put other people down because they don't fit your vision in 2024. Get the fuck out of here. Tori, don't run from your past. You did a good thing. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, my name is Devontae, and I'll be catching you guys later. Deuces, P. Eyes.